The freemen of Fredericksburg, Virginia, hearing Jefferson's alarm, sprang into action as recorded in the Virginia Herald newspaper on the 13th of May, 1798. And I will read you what was printed in that paper that day. Quote, "On Monday, the citizens of this corporation met, agreeably to notification published in the public papers, to express their sentiments on the present important and critical situation of this country. The meeting was called by the friends of John Adams, the executive, whose object was to address the President of the United States and to express their entire approbation of his conduct with respect to our foreign relations." Golf clap. But an address to this effect was prepared and presented by Thomas E. Boots, Esquire, that means attorney, which he supported by a very lengthy argument to the crowd. He was then followed by Captain John Mercer, Colonel John Minor, and Colonel John F. Mercer, who successfully combated Boots's arguments and combated everything that Boots had said in favor of Adams. They met, and the following resolutions then were prepared by Dr. David C. Kerr, were approved and adopted. Now remember, this meeting is called to lay some laurels. I now present to you a laurel and hearty handshake to John Adams. That's what they were going to load the President of the United States, and the meeting turns itself on its head by citizens. Here's the best part. So the resolutions. A division was called for on the address and resolutions, and tellers appointed to take the number of votes, who reported that 2/3 of the citizens present were in favor of the resolutions. The meeting was more numerous than any we have ever seen in this place. During the whole of the discussion, the most perfect order and decorum were prevailed. So let's recap. The meeting was called so the local John Adams fan club could honor their hero, but he was no longer a hero to the Little R Republicans of Fredericksburg. In place of a certificate of gratitude being drafted and signed to be sent to Adams, 6 resolutions serving him a notice of warning were written. Now, these aren't your garden variety resolves and don't sound like they were written by John Boehner or Eric Cantor. 1. Resolved. As the opinion of this meeting that the administration of these states, before I read this, just have to now put yourself in the mindset. You're in 1798. You can still see the revolution in your mind. I mean, it's fresh in people's memory. You probably have war heroes in your family. You're thinking you're all new and cool and independent and everything. And then this government is created, and this guy Adams becomes president, and everything stinks. It's horrible. So bear that in mind when you hear the resolution that they were going to send to the president. Resolved. As the opinion of this meeting that the administration of these states received the government of a happy and united people in peace abroad and prosperity at home, that under their guidance we have been led, oppressed with public, heavy debts, enormous taxes, a ruined commerce, and depreciated produce. Sound familiar? Into hostility with a nation who aided to secure our independence by their own blood and treasure, with a republic the most peaceful and successful that has appeared on earth for 18 centuries, armed with every weapon to injure us, but whom we can in no wise injure, with a republic united with the Confederacy so extensive as to separate us from all the civilized world but Britain and her dependencies, that they have done this not through ignorance and folly only, for they were at all times warned of the certain consequence of their measures, not through constraint, for although opposed, they always carried their measures, but men who have proved themselves by their own works so unfit to govern us, even with every advantage we've given them, can neither without madness be trusted in times of real difficulty and extreme danger, and that it is equally absurd to found confidence in our disasters, or to pursue that line, or to support those men who have already brought us to the verge of destruction. Brought them to the verge of destruction. 1798. That's very ominous words, especially considering that Abraham Lincoln isn't even born yet. Second resolve, that the speech of the President of the United States to the ordinary session of Congress was, in the opinion of this meeting, calculated to rouse the resentment of the French government and destroy any reasonable hope of successful negotiations between that republic and agents appointed by him. In other words, Adams cheated when he sent ministers to France. They were lying. They went there to go tell the French to go pound sand. That's exactly what they did. Third, that the instructions to our envoys, so contrary to the spirit of that speech and the whole conduct of our administration, authorized this conclusion, that they were rather intended to inflame the American mind than to produce goodwill in France, under the well-grounded expectation that the negotiations would, from those and other causes, fail. In other words, they went over there to fail, intentionally. Fourth, that the late negotiations with unauthorized swindlers in Paris are so unexampled as to afford no justifiable ground for public measures, and that their publication, so far as they tend to excite the sensibility of our citizens, is unjustifiable, as they may commit the safety of the envoys highly imprudent. Big, heady words here. Now, they weren't content. You may think, oh, that's great, Mike, what's the point? Oh, I haven't got to number 5 and number 6 yet. Not content to just complain to the Adams administration, send a couple of mass carrier pigeon letters, or paint a couple of poster boards to bring to a Sarah Palin rally, the citizens of Fredericksburg, Virginia served notice that they would not stand for what Adams was about to do, even if that meant, drum roll please, hear it for yourself. Resolve 5, that the militia are the only safe and constitutional defense of these states, that they alone are adequate to this object, and that they will ever prove so if guided by good government. 6, that we hold it to be our bounden duty, and we do solemnly pledge ourselves firmly to support our national rights and independence whenever assailed by foreign invasion or domestic usurpation. So here we are, a mere 9 years from the Constitution being ratified, and already the federal Leviathan is out of control. And we think we have it bad. The story concludes in the Virginia Herald as summarized by the historian of the city of Fredericksburg, S.J. Quinn, with the upshot of our discourse today. This is what I want you to learn here. The citizens of Virginia inspired nullification. This came from the citizens, from you, from us. Because it was an abuse of their Constitution. They don't own the Constitution, you do. We own it. We are the stewards of it. Those people are elected as our agents. That's all they are. This is how the story in the Virginia newspaper concluded. Fontaine Maury was chairman of this large gathering of the people and signed the resolutions adopted by the meeting. They were then sent to Honorable John Dawson, representative in Congress from this district, who laid them before the extra session of Congress for the consideration of that body. In other words, they told them, we're coming with a militia, buddy, you better back off. These resolutions adopted on the 14th of May, 1798, setting forth the principles upon which their authors believed the Union was founded, and upon which the government should be administered, were the basis for the famous resolutions drawn by Mr. Madison and passed by the Virginia legislature on the 2nd of December of the same year, 1798, which have since been the theme of Virginia statesmen of that school when they would revert to first principles. So, you laughed when I told you it began in Fredericksburg, Virginia. It began in Fredericksburg, Virginia. They sent a resolution to Congress telling them to back off. Jefferson and Madison, being Virginians, took them to heart. Now, note that this meeting's impact, that's the whole point here, was felt by Madison, Jefferson, and Taylor and Caroline, And like I said, these are the sentiments of the Old Dominion citizens. There's no more important point to make that when you talk about Jefferson's rightful remedy, that the rightful remedy was commonly accepted by the people. It wasn't just the politicians, wasn't just the great Thomas Jefferson. People backed him on this, and they were backed by the citizenry. That is important, very important to note.